Hello YouTube. Welcome to the first episode in a series of videos in which I will be responding to the Twitter account Feminism Matters. I've chosen this account to respond to because they seem to be relatively representative of feminism as a whole. They've got 632,000 followers and almost every one of their tweets gets thousands of likes and hundreds of retweets. So I think this Twitter account is a pretty representative account when it comes to feminism. What I will do in this series is simply go through their tweets and respond to them. So let's get started. Feminism Matters tweets, "My kind of fairy tale. You can't go now, it's only midnight. Okay, let's get one thing straight. I can do whatever the fuck I want. So, in your kind of fairy tale, the woman should be allowed to do whatever they want. In a romantic situation, the man can't have any preferences. He's not actually saying you can't, as in you're not allowed. It's you can't go now, as in I don't want you to go. I'd rather you stay. But no, he's not allowed to have preferences. She can do literally anything she wants. I'm assuming consequence free. And so in your ideal fairy tale, it's the story about an incredibly entitled, independent woman who can do whatever they want, whenever they want, and no one can say anything to them. No one can voice any kind of preference about how they act or what they do. And this is your ideal. This is how you want. This is your example of how you want women to act. Great. Feminism Matters tweets, "Boys deserve to feel confident too." Well, I agree with that. Let's see. Let me talk about something I think is overlooked far too often. You see all these guys? Do you know what they all have in common? They are all attractive. No, they're not. If you ask any woman who isn't either lying or has really low standards, they're going to find some of these men more attractive than others and some of them unattractive. I mean, they all seem to be white, so people who hate white people aren't going to find any of them attractive. Now guys, let me tell you something. Your body isn't the only thing that makes you quote unquote attractive. You, all of you, is what is attractive. What you look like is a part to a point. It's important you look like you care for yourself. Stay clean and hygienic. But you know what else is attractive? Happiness, self-confidence, kindness, personality. The things that make up who you are is important. Things not seen on the outside, but what's inside. Corny and cliche? Yes, but it's true. There's so much more to any person than what they look like. That includes you. Someone will be lucky to have you someday. Okay, now this sounds like it's a good, positive, uplifting message. But it also sends the message that what you look like on the outside doesn't matter. And that's simply not true. That's a lie. You're lying to men here. Because men aren't in control of what women think of them. Men aren't in control of whether or not women find them attractive. Right? If you're an overweight man, most women are not going to find you attractive. It doesn't matter how many messages like this get sent out. It doesn't matter if you believe it. Most women are just not going to be as attracted to you as they would be to the tall, athletic-looking guy. And that's just a fact. And the sooner everybody realizes it, the better. If you could somehow change the way human beings worked, and you could somehow make it so that women found a fat guy just as attractive as a buff, tall guy, then great. But that's not reality. And it doesn't help anyone to lie about reality. So yes, everything else you said, what's inside does matter. Your personality, confidence, that's hugely important. But at the same time, You can't just expect other people to find you attractive. You can't just think that you're attractive no matter what, because attractiveness is a subjective thing. Some people might find you attractive, some people won't, but the percentage of people that find you attractive will depend on how you look, your physical characteristics, and you just need to learn to live with that. And if you can't deal with it, then do what you can to try and improve your physical characteristics. So if you're overweight and you don't like the fact that most people aren't going to be attracted to you, then try and lose the weight. Try and get fit. That's just the way the world works. Sorry. Feminism Matters tweets, why do we never talk about toxic masculinity or male violence? When a mass shooting occurs, we talk about gun control and mental health issues, but we never talk about toxic masculinity or male violence. Women have access to guns, women suffer from mental health issues, so what's the difference? Why can't we talk about it in those terms? Because the moment we do, we're blamed for reverse sexism and hating men. Ah, the irony. But in reality, talking about toxic masculinity is utterly essential. It's not about hating men or saying that they're inherently violent beings, quite the opposite. It's about working to free them from gender roles that are restrictive and brutal, to point out the fact that a great deal of violence is based on social structures of what it means to be a real man. You know what I find? I find that when a tragedy happens, like a mass shooting, people will want to talk about whatever their pet issue is. So if you already care about gun control, when a mass shooting happens, you're going to talk about gun control. If you already care about mental health issues, when a mass shooting happens, you're going to talk about mental health issues. If you already care about the Confederate flag, then when a mass shooting happens, you're going to talk about the Confederate flag. So when a mass shooting happens and you're a feminist, you're probably going to talk about male violence and toxic masculinity because you already care about that. And yeah, you know what? You are going to get accused of hating men and actual sexism. There's no such thing as reverse sexism. And you know why? Because those gender roles that you want to quote-unquote free men from are not inherently negative things. For every man who is too aggressive and it ends up in harmful violence, there's tons of men who channel that aggression into positive things, into success in life. And you trying to treat all men as if those things that make them strong, those things that make them successful are negative, yeah, that's going to be seen as you attacking men because you're attacking the very things that make them who they are. As a personal example, I personally am a very competitive person, and this has been a very positive thing in my life. I can think of very few examples of times when my competitiveness has been a negative trait. Yet feminism wants to get rid of that. They want to make men less competitive, less aggressive. They want to make them basically more like stereotypical feminine values. And no, that's not okay. If you can prove that a large portion of mass shootings are because of hypermasculinity, like these guys are taught certain ways about being men, and that directly leads to them going out and killing people, then yeah, we can have that conversation about whatever these guys are being taught that causes them to go out and kill people. But to act like it's masculinity itself, or maleness in some way that's to blame for mass shootings, no, that's just a bias on your part. Feminism Matters tweets, just a reminder that you're all beautiful. So if you have absolutely no standards of beauty, then yes, every woman you see is beautiful. Unfortunately for you, Feminism Matters, the vast majority of people have personal standards of beauty. Sorry, but you can hope that isn't the way the world works, but that's the way the world works. Feminism Matters tweets, I want to be somewhere where a child says, I was raped, and every adult asks, are you okay? Well, I don't know where you live, Feminism Matters, but I think you probably already live in a place like that. But let's see. Are we going to take the power away from the people? So when you say something happened to you, we will let the government decide if it happened or not? I don't want to live in a country like that. I want to be somewhere where a child says, I was raped. Every adult says, are you okay? What happened to you? We want to help you. Not, what were you wearing? What were you doing? Did you do anything wrong? Were you on drugs or drinking? It's totally beside the point. Okay, so a few things here. What crazy person is asking a child who says they were raped if they were on drugs or drinking? Are you sure you're not conflating women with children here? I mean, I know feminists get accused of treating women like children, but God, this is like really blatant here. I mean, this is clearly talking about women, not children, first of all. And you're using children here because people have automatic sympathy for children and would be horrified by anyone giving a child anything but sympathy when they say they were raped. That's despicable right there. And then there's the fact that these adults who are asking you what you were wearing, what were you doing, did you do anything wrong, were you on drugs or drinking, those are called police officers. And they're doing their job. When somebody says they're accused of a crime, you need to establish the facts of the crime. I mean, if, for example, they need to identify you in CCTV footage, it might be useful to know what you're wearing. Or if there's a rapist that's active in the area, and maybe he's targeting women who dress a certain way. So that might be useful information for crime prevention, for preventing people from getting raped. They're not doing it to make you feel bad. They're not accusing you of having caused your own rape. They're asking you the same questions they would ask someone who was robbed or assaulted. And, I don't know what kind of shitty people you surround yourself with, but if you're surrounded by even half decent people, if you say that you were raped, everyone around you is going to give you sympathy. Okay? They're going to say, are you okay? What happened? We want to help you. Most people, the first thing they say is not going to be, what were you wearing? So anyways, I guess you want to live in a land where if a child or a woman says that something bad happened to them, everyone just believes them. We don't have a court system. The government doesn't get involved in any way. And, how will we handle punishment in that case? I mean, if you're raped, there's going to be a rapist. So how would we manage like what happens to the rapist if the government's not involved and everyone just believes what the woman says? So I guess we'll just hang them, right? We'll just have a public lynching of the accused rapist. We don't need proof or anything. The proof is that he was accused, right? Right. Feminism Matters tweets, straight guys' masculinity is so fragile they have to think about putting a flower in their hair and wearing a skirt. Fellas, y'all would do this for 10 mil? So, would men be willing to wear the skirt and a flower for $10 million? So, I can imagine that the vast majority of men would say, hells yes. Let's see how people respond. JR Myth says, you wildin' if you're not gonna do that for 10 million, lol. Shit niggas will do that for 10K. Okay, so this person agrees. Yes, $10 million is more than fair for doing that. Okay. And then Press de Abraham Lincoln says, lol, I don't know, bro. 10 mil, though, might just say fuck it, lol. Okay, so let's see. We've got 2 people tweeting, which is a huge sample size, I gotta say. Wow, I'm impressed. Out of the 2 people, one says, yes, for sure, no doubt about it. It wouldn't even take $10 million. I'd do it for 10K. And the other says, yeah, probably. And this is your example. This is your proof. Straight guys' masculinity is so fragile they have to think about putting a flower in their hair and wearing a skirt. So one straight guy had to think about it. And was obviously joking because he said, lol. This is your example. That's the thing. You're so desperate to show that straight guys have such fragile masculinity that you're willing to base your example on one guy who jokingly has to think about it. That's how weak your argument is. Feminism Matters tweets, if 40 men call one woman a hoe, you'll believe it. But if 40 women call one man a rapist, you find it questionable? Well, Feminism Matters, one of those things is a serious crime. The other is not. Do you understand why people might have a higher burden of proof? A higher need for evidence for the serious thing, for the really serious thing, the thing that completely ruins someone's life and sends them to jail, compared to the thing that's just based on their reputation? No, you don't get it? Okay. Feminism Matters tweets, read this. You don't owe prettiness to anyone. Not to your boyfriend, spouse, or partner, not to your coworkers, especially not to random men on the street. You don't owe it to your mother, you don't owe it to your children, you don't owe it to civilization in general. Prettiness is not a rent you pay for occupying a space marked female. Yes, this is correct. You don't owe it to anyone to look a certain way. On the flip side, no one owes it to you to find you attractive if you don't make an effort to look pretty. So you can't have it both ways. So yes, that's fine. You don't owe it to other people to look nice, to look pretty. And they don't owe it to you to think that you look pretty, to treat you like you're pretty. Deal? No, wait. Everyone is beautiful, right? That's what you said before. So if everyone's beautiful, but you don't owe prettiness, no, I don't think you can have it both ways. Feminism Matters tweets, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau gets it. My wife took me aside a few months ago and said, okay, it's great you're engaged and modeling to your daughter that you want her empowered, but you need to take as much effort to talk to your sons about how they treat women and how they are going to grow up to be feminists just like Dad. And by the way, we shouldn't be afraid of the word feminist. Men and women should use it to describe themselves anytime they want. Yep, here's the leader of a nation pushing an official ideology for that nation. Or at least for his family, but, he's the leader of the nation, so what he says is reflective of the nation. And this is the mindset. This is the mindset of a lot of feminists, where feminism is the default. It's not even an ideology. It's not even seen as a belief system. It's the default. And anyone who doesn't identify as a feminist, they have the belief system. They have an ideology. And it's perfectly acceptable to indoctrinate your kids with this ideology. There's nothing wrong with it. They shouldn't be able to make up their own mind about whether or not they want to be feminists. No, they are going to be feminists. Because that is the way you should be. And there shouldn't be anything wrong with being a feminist. Because again, it's the default. There should never be anything wrong with it. It doesn't matter how feminists actually act. It doesn't matter what feminists do. It's automatically a good thing. We shouldn't be afraid of the word. Anyone should be able to call themselves a feminist. Doesn't matter. Feminism is good, everything else is bad, and that's just the way things are. Feminism Matters tweets, preach! No woman should be taught that love is how much shit you can tolerate from a man. All I'm saying is I'm sick of dusty boys leading on beautiful, spirited women, then breaking their hearts when they deserve the world. So, I had to look this up, but dusty means ugly, apparently. So, you're sick of women being led on, beautiful, spirited women. I'm assuming you're using beautiful in the feminist definition of the word that means human. So, leading on women and spirited, I'm assuming all women are spirited. So, leading on women, then breaking their hearts when they deserve the world. Because men, I'm sure, are the only ones who ever do this, who ever lead on somebody, and women never do that. So, what's the solution here? Men should never mistreat women in relationships, I guess. Women should never have their hearts broken. I mean, this isn't just like a universal human problem, right? This is a specific women problem, sure. Feminism Matters tweets, mindful language is important. When greeting others, avoid ladies, gentlemen, ma'am, sir, girls, guys, etc. Consider instead using, thanks friends, have a great night. Good morning, folks. Hi, everyone. And for you? Can I get you all something? Why? Shifting to gender-inclusive language respects and acknowledges the gender identities of all people and removes assumption. Be mindful of language. Right, so transgender people make up a really tiny percentage of the population. You know this, right? It's not like 25% of the population is transgendered. I mean, the odds of you coming across a transgender person is actually quite low. So the suggestion here is that everyone adjusts their language on the off chance that they're going to come across a transgender person or someone who doesn't conform to gender norms, who doesn't consider themselves a lady or a gentleman. And we're going to assume that this person will be offended if they are called a lady or a gentleman. They will be made to feel bad if this happens. Now, I can tell you, if I identified as transgender, if I identified as not quite a man and not quite a woman, whatever, somewhere in between, maybe I look male, but, I prefer to think of myself as a female, I would learn to get over it pretty damn quickly if people, quote-unquote, misgendered me. I mean, I would be self-aware enough to know that I look male, so when people called me by a male pronoun, I wouldn't be bothered by it. And people who know me well, I might expect them to use the appropriate pronouns or whatever, but random people, no. I wouldn't be bothered at all, because I'm a mature adult. And I have a question for the people who wanted to change our language. So say you work in customer service, and you need to get the attention of a customer, and they look like a woman. What do you call them? You? Hey, you. Because everything else here is plural, right? So what do you say? Hello, friend? They're not your friend. I can see that being offensive. Hi, folk? No, that's not singular. Hi, everyone? No, you need to talk to one person. So you. We're going to be saying, hi, hey, you. Yeah, I can't see anyone getting offended by that. And let's say you're at a formal meeting and you need to address the whole meeting. So you say, hi friends, or good afternoon folks, or hello everyone. Those are called informal greetings. So we're just going to get rid of formal language. No, that's not how things work. English has formal language and informal language. And in formal language, we say things like ladies and gentlemen. We say things like sir and ma'am. And most people understand that guys, hey guys, that's gender neutral. I know, it's hard to get that into your brain when you're so obsessed with gender, but when most people say guys, they don't mean actual men. They mean people. And I'm sorry if that offends you because you're obsessed with gender, but for the rest of us who aren't obsessed with gender, we don't really care. So you're probably just going to have to get over it, because most people are never going to care this much about gender. Feminism Matters tweets, reminder, you are absolutely beautiful. If everyone is beautiful, then the word has no meaning. This seems to be a recurring theme in these tweets. The idea that everyone is beautiful, that your physical body doesn't matter. It's what's inside that counts. And that every physical body, no matter what it looks like, is beautiful. This is a campaign against the word beauty, against attraction, against being pretty, against being beautiful. Any kind of word that describes the human body in a positive way should lose all meaning. I'm sorry, but that's not the way the world works, and it's not the way it's ever going to work. People have preferences about the way the people they're attracted to look. Okay, I like certain things in women. I find them attractive. I find them attractive in the same way I find a beautiful sunset attractive. You can't control whether or not you think a sunset is attractive. Everyone has certain things that they like aesthetically about whoever they're attracted to. And that's not likely to ever change unless we all become robots or something. So this campaign to convince women that they're beautiful no matter what they look like, you're convincing them of a lie. Because they're not beautiful no matter what they look like. Because everyone's going to have different standards of what they find beautiful. So to some people, yes, no matter what you look like, someone is probably going to find you beautiful. I mean, there's fetishes for almost everything. But that doesn't mean that the average person is going to find you beautiful. It doesn't mean that everyone's going to find you beautiful. It doesn't mean that even most people are going to find you beautiful. I mean, if you're overweight, or if you've got really strange features, then you're probably not going to be found beautiful by most people. And you've got to learn to live with it, or you've got to make changes. Those are your choices. Feminism Matters tweets, "More women need to realize this. Other women are not my competition. I stand with them, not against them." So you're encouraging women to stand together. Not with men, with each other. So what you're pushing here is the idea that women are a separate group, and that group needs to stand together. Against who? Against men, I assume. And yes, I understand that this is a stereotype. The stereotype that women are constantly competing with each other, constantly comparing themselves to other women. But what you're pushing for is, I think, another harmful stereotype. The idea that men and women are separate groups. If I were concerned with gender equality, I might be tweeting something along the lines of, other people are not your competition. You should stand with them, not against them. Because, that would be focusing on all genders, and not just continuing to push this idea that men and women are separate groups that are opposed to one another. But that's just me. Feminism Matters tweets, "Seriously though, all jobs are just as important as the next. Stop devaluation of feminized jobs." Right, because the cleaning lady at the hospital is just as important as the doctor. This is what you're pushing. This is what 3,000 people agree with. 939 people retweeted this. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. In Western society, what we've done is we've made certain jobs more valuable, or certain jobs have become more valuable. And you know why? Because they are more important. Because they're actually more important. We need those jobs more than we need other jobs. We need doctors more than we need cashiers. It's harder to become a doctor. It requires more education to be a doctor. Do you know why these feminized jobs, these quote-unquote feminized jobs, are less valued, are seen as less important? Because they're easier. Because they require less skill. Because they require less education. There are plenty of male jobs that are devalued as well. Garbage collector, stock boy. There just seems to be more jobs that are female-based that are devalued. Because women, for whatever reason, tend to look for easier jobs. Now, this could be because they already have responsibilities at home. They're raising kids, so they don't have the time or the energy to work a really difficult job. But it could also be just something that women are socialized towards, to go for jobs that require less effort to either get the skills for or to actually do. Now, I'm not going to go into why that it may be, but maybe that's something you should be trying to change. If you're really concerned about this, then maybe you should be trying to convince women to go for the more difficult, demanding jobs, the more physically demanding jobs, the more mentally demanding jobs. But no, you're going the other route. You're trying to change the value of the jobs themselves so that low effort jobs are seen as just as important as high effort jobs. Well, if you succeed, then you might find yourself in a society with no doctors. Because who the fuck is going to put in the time and the excruciating amount of effort involved in becoming a doctor if you're going to be valued just as much as a maid? I mean, if you can make the same amount of money, if you can get the same amount of societal value out of being a maid as being a doctor, who's going to become a doctor? Very few people, I think. I mean, yeah, some people will do it just because, they will realize that, yes, doctors are needed and they genuinely want to help people in a way that only doctors can help people. But I think there's going to be a lot fewer doctors in Feminism Matters ideal society than in our society. Feminism Matters tweets, "At the end of the day, this is exactly what it comes down to. It doesn't matter if you're male, female, transgendered, gay, bisexual, straight, or whatever. You should be given the same opportunities and rights as any other human being." Well, I agree that yes, every human being should have the same basic rights. But I'm not sure about the opportunities thing. Opportunities are based a lot on luck. Luck of the draw. You happen to be born in this city, you happen to be born in that city, you happen to be born in this country, you happen to be born to these parents, not those parents. And so every person is going to have different opportunities based on, sometimes on complete luck. So giving everyone the same opportunities is unrealistic. It's never going to happen. So if that's your goal, then you've got an unrealistic goal. You've got an impossible goal. And I don't like the idea of organizing society, organizing your belief system on an impossible goal. I think that we should be pushing for realistic goals, personally. And as for rights, yes, on the surface I agree with that. But what I see is people then changing the definition of rights or creating new rights in their head and then saying, oh, we should all have this right or that right. For example, you might say that we all have the right to use the bathroom at, say, a mall or something. But then people extend that and say we should all have the right to use whatever bathroom we want at the mall. Or we should have the right to choose which bathroom to use. See, this is how the word rights gets stretched to mean whatever people want it to mean. So, on the surface, this seems like a perfectly reasonable, perfectly acceptable statement, but I'm going to need a lot more specifics about what you mean by opportunities and rights before I can agree to anything here. Feminism Matters tweets, "This is what feminism is all about. Fight for women of all colors. Fight for trans women. Fight for women of every class, not just white, middle-class, cisgender women. We all need to back each other up and fight for equal treatment." Yes, you're right, that is what feminism is all about. Women. There's not even lip service paid to men in this description here. It's just a fight for women, for equal treatment of women. I'm assuming you mean equal to men, but I think what you mean is equal to an idealized, stereotypical version of what you think, of how you think men are treated. But yeah, I think that's a good place to finish here because that is a perfect summation of what feminism is all about. Well, I hope you enjoyed the first video in what I hope will be a long series. I'm Positive Improvement, and I wish you all the best.